One thing I think that I've been reminded of as a parent is how lucky I am, because I have 4 kids, and they get along really well. I mean, they might not tell you that, but they really do. And it's been fun to watch them play wiffle ball in the yard and goof around and do stuff together that they don't normally have time to do. So I've been very lucky to see that.
Quite honestly, I don't really know what to say. It's been kind of a hard 2 months. We have been homeschooling for several years, and I work from home, so in a lot of ways nothing has changed a whole lot. We're used to spending time at home and teaching at home and working from home, but I think maybe one of the things that this experience of living and parenting in pandemic has revealed to me is just the need to take time to reflect and take time to think and quiet time. And honestly, I am exhausted and tired and haven't really done a whole lot of that. So when we're asked questions about what are you learning about yourself, or how are you drawing closer to God in this time, it's really hard, I think, for me to answer those, because it's more of the same. It's just a little more of the same. It's hard to get a quiet time. It always has been, and it's, I think, even harder now that my husband's home too. And I stepped outside. I think there's at least one kid crying inside, waking up from nap, and another one avoiding doing his math homework, and the other one I think is happy somewhere. So, I mean, they're all safe.
So I think in all of this, some of the things that being my kid's teacher right now has taught me is that, one, I'm probably in the right place in college teaching and not fourth grade and kindergarten. So, that's confirming evidence that I had the right career path. But I think, the other thing I've learned is just that I love being a parent when I get to have fun with my kids. And discipline is not my favorite part of parenting, and keeping people to a schedule or having expectations of them or correcting their work. Those are the kinds of things that if I could just throw it all out the window and not do any of it, I would. I would much prefer not to do any of it. And so, so to have structure and expectations and things that we need to do each day that maybe aren't all fun, I think it's been a good opportunity for me to really think for myself about, what is it about, what is it about expectations and discipline and kind of negotiating with my kids. What is it that feels so distasteful to me about it? And is there another way that I can do it? Or is there a way that I can have those expectations and not get, not get stressed out or worked up about the process? And so I think, those are the kinds of things where, usually those moments are just fleeting, 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there. But when you're home all day, every day, and you're each other's only company, then I think, you really start to think about, well, what about this is working really well and what about it's not? So, so I think this has been an opportunity for me to think about patience, to think about having peace even in moments of negotiation, conflict between siblings, days where one kid or one of us is just, off or tired or sick. And how do we maintain really that sense of compassion and peace and kindness and love with each other, even if we're not doing our favorite thing, or even if we're having to have hard conversations. And I think that, for me, that's just been such a learning point at this time. And I think with that, trying to figure out, what for each one of us in the family, what really builds us up and energizes us and restores us. And then what are the things that we need that take a lot of energy from us. And for each of us, it's different. I'm such an introvert. For me, just quiet time outside is what I really need. But, for Kate or for Adeline, it's just really different what they need to kind of like make them be, restored and back to full energy. And so, it's been a process trying to figure all of that out, and I'm just trying to pay attention and bookmark it all, and save it for later, and see if we can do something good with it.
There are two primary lessons that I am going to walk through this and hopefully eventually away from this with. The first one is that, I think that the way that we were doing life as a family and the way that I was doing life as a mom prior to kind of lockdown and quarantine and that kind of thing was just not sustainable. And I think that most of you, if you're real honest, would probably agree with me. If you have a family or you have kids right now at home, from a motherhood perspective, it's really hard to work full time and to be, helping to provide for the family, and then to come home and realize, oh my goodness, it's almost 5 o'clock, and at 6 o'clock somebody has to be at hockey, and somebody has to get picked up at band at 5:30, and somebody else has to go, to archery practice. And so then your time is limited to even sit down and have a meal together. So I think the lesson is not just about the fact that the way that we were doing life wasn't super sustainable. I feel like the plan inside of all of this that I'm seeing, that I feel like God has really spoken my heart about, is that He is a God who restores. He is a God who gives hope and who really heals things. And so even though this wasn't the choice that we were making for our family, and as a mom at this time, for the kids not to get to go back to school. I mean, I'm a principal at school, so not to see my seniors, graduate on the stage, that's been really hard. So we didn't make that choice, but the benefit has been that we get to have and have been able to walk through some restoration in our family by virtue of the fact that we have been provided the time to spend together. So that is a blessing, really a blessing in disguise. And, I've been challenged by several people in my life who, some are overtly Christian and outspoken about their faith, and some aren't. But what's really kind of stuck with me is that even those people who don't claim to have strong faith are asking the question, what are the things that I'm going to hang on to when we're done with this pandemic and life goes back to, normal or as it was? And almost everyone is saying, I think that the pace of life was unsustainable. So I hope that that's, also a lesson maybe that some of you have learned or are learning, and that some of you will walk through with my family when things have a tendency to maybe, ramp back up and they start moving fast, is that we'll all hold each other accountable for that.
One thing I've learned about myself that wasn't as good a bit of news is that I tend to blame work on the fact that I'm so busy, but I saw that in the first couple of weeks of the quarantine, I was making myself busy anyway. So I think there's just something in me that does that. So I've been trying in the past couple of weeks to take time and just slow down, and it's been really good.
I think as a mom, as an educator, as a professional, sometimes even as a Christian, I've worn busyness right here, like as a badge of honor. Hey, can you, get together with our family? And sometimes the answer is, I'm so sorry. We're just so busy right now. And for whatever reason, I think that, we've kind of conditioned ourselves to say, busyness is a virtue, but I don't believe that it is. And I think that I knew that in my heart before this pandemic, so it's not something that was brand new to me, but it's been an illustration with everything slowing down, and it ties into the first lesson that busyness isn't the primary virtue.
Hi, buddy. You can come in. Hi.
What are you doing?
I am trying to answer some questions for Pastor Mariah about things we've learned from
And
being...
other people?
Yeah, about things we've learned from being at home all this time. What do you think you've learned from being at home all this time? Nothing?
Nope.
Nope. I think I have learned that I really like to have, I like to think ahead. I like to plan ahead. I think I've learned that sometimes I think ahead so much that I miss the moment that I'm in. And so by thinking ahead and planning ahead and trying to maybe worry about the future, anticipate what's going to happen in the future, I might miss out on some really good moments right in front of me. So something I'm learning. Ooh, right.
Yeah, it was about a bee.
A bee, you think?
Bee.
Ouch.